Welcome to Proof Points, a podcast by Latham High-Tech Seeds. Family owned and farm proven for more than 75 years, Latham Seeds is growing strong. Now, here's product manager and host of Proof Points, Steve Sick.
Welcome to this week's episode of Proof Points. And this week I'm here with John Latham, president of Latham Hybrids. How are you today, John?
I'm doing well, Steve. How about you?
Good, very good. Let's focus on soybeans on this episode. There's a lot to talk about, obviously. It looks like the market trend, according to the USDA, is looking at, a 3.5 million acre increase in soybean acres potentially for 2024. What do you see the market going as far as Latham goes, especially between technologies? There's a lot of talk. Okay, do I go extend flex? Do I go enlist? What direction do I go? What do you see?
Yeah, I think the great thing about being independent is we've got access to both and a lot of different genetics as well to go with it. So, I think we're seeing a shift over the last couple of years to enlist E3 soybeans, but also, there's some areas like in our northern territory where Extend Flex is doing extremely well, where they need to be able to control weeds like kochia. So I think it's really up to the farmer what they want. And great thing about us, we've got both, and we'll be happy to sell either one. We're not pressured to do either one.
Right. And I agree. It really is dependent on the area you're in. But throughout our testing, do we have testing in soybeans very similar to the corn side, or what do we do on soybean testing?
Yeah, it's very similar to corn. We've got a lot of different independent tests all across Latham country and Minnesota, the Dakotas, Iowa, even into Wisconsin and Illinois and Nebraska. And so we're testing all the best products out there in the marketplace and evaluating them. With soybeans, you've got a lot of diseases that's things like our ironclad handle very well. And you don't get ironclad unless you've got a testing program to know what's going to work well in some areas and not. So we have we use third-party providers on our testing. And the great thing is we get all the soybeans in at the same time in the spring, and we're being able to look at them, evaluate them equally. So, if we were putting some of them in planting in April and some toward the end of May, it'd be a lot different. But getting them all at the same time, you're really able to evaluate consistently across geographies and be able to look at what products really work well in each area, which is so critical for our area, especially on soybeans.
Right. I see one of the shifts that Latham is definitely making, and probably one of the benefits that comes out of this testing program, is Latham is offering a lot more peaking source SCN products. How do you see that as being an important part of the offering for our customers?
Yeah, it's huge. We've been working with Peking for almost 20 years altogether, and we've always known we needed alternate sources against SCN, but we got to be able to have products that yield. And for so long, there was just kind of a yield drag with those Peking products for whatever reason. And now we're really seeing a breakthrough on Peking where the yields are there, but certainly the 88788 resistance just wasn't working anymore, and the Peking is. So, I think we got to have both tools, but certainly for now, we're seeing a really nice benefit in a lot of areas. If you've got high pressure, the Peking is really working well. And I know you had a great podcast with Dr. Greg Tilka and really talked about cyst, and a lot of people thinking that IDC was an issue, which it certainly is in our area, but sometimes that was SCN. And so Peking, those products really broke through this year, had a great year, and it'll be interesting to see next year if they are strong, and I'm sure they will be, because we just have a lot of resistance to SCN out there right now.
Right. And for those of you that weren't able to attend our post-harvest huddles, one of the advantages within our system is Peking is being offered now all the way from the early group 0, mid group 0s, all the way through our entire portfolio up into the group 3s. So pay attention. There'll be a lot of new Peking varieties coming in the future, but obviously, as John mentioned, they have to yield. Yield is obviously the number one goal. So I know another thing that Latham takes pride in is our quality in the bag and what we're doing as far as different against the competition, with our own processing plant there. Maybe can you expand on that just a tad bit, John?
Yeah, it's something we take a lot of pride in. We've had Greg Jakes, our plant manager, has been with us, his whole career. I won't say how many years, but and then his dad was the plant manager before him, so it's a real legacy within their family as far as quality. And the nice thing about at Latham, at our Alexander facility, all the beans are brought in at harvest time, and so we're able to have control of them right out of the field, which a lot of companies aren't able to do. They put them in the farmer's bin and they get them in the winter. And we would rather not move them around in the winter when it's 10 below zero, but
Hmm.
moving them in at harvest time works out really well. Then we're able to bring them in and condition them and bag them throughout the season. But it's really worked well. We've got a hands-on approach. We know if there's an issue with a grower that we can tell them, hey, you need to change some things up, and maybe you're getting into too much dirt or you're getting nightshade or something in your beans. We can change things up, reject that load, and know we've got really good quality. So our procedure is nothing new, but it goes back to my grandfather's days, and it's worked extremely well, and part of the reason why we've had such a great reputation for quality over the years.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's something that some companies don't quite take as much pride in as what we do here at Latham, but it's definitely important as we pay more and more for our bags of seed. You definitely want everything to grow, no doubt about it. So, Latham, we talked about this on the corn podcast here a while back. We put a lot of effort, time, money into corn testing. On soybean testing, is it very similar? Are we testing in the same areas? What are we doing as far as bringing the best product forward for Latham country?
Yeah, we are. We're doing a lot of testing in all, actually more testing. I'd say we're triple what we were probably 10 years ago, which is outstanding. We've got a lot of different locations across Latham country. Those we use third-party providers that are getting the beans in, like I said, at the same time.
Hmm.
So really excited about all the testing program. I think ours is the best in all the independent seed companies, and it's bigger than a lot of the majors. So the other thing too on soybeans is we're working with many different providers on soybeans for genetics, and we're seeing certain things from different providers. And I know there's companies out there it's just all about how cheap we can get with soybeans, and certainly there's a lot of diseases that you want to have resistance to, and obviously high yields. And when soybeans are 14, $15 a bushel, that makes up the price of seed in a hurry. So we go the extra mile. We want to put out a top quality product that's got some of the best yielding genetics in the marketplace, and really proud to be able to do that. So I think there's a real difference when you're planting Latham versus some of those that say they're me too. We've got the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think that can be overemphasized enough, John. There's more than one genetic supplier out there on soybeans, contrary to what maybe a lot of people believe. And at Latham, we're able to take advantage of all the genetic providers out there, test a wide range, because obviously everybody's variety is the best, and we test it to make sure that keep them honest and make sure to bring the best product forward into Latham bag, no doubt.
Right. There's some companies that just take whatever the big
Mhm.
companies say is good and don't do any testing at all. And we we've fallen in that trap a time or two, and that doesn't always work out. So we want to make sure, both on corn and soybeans, that we've tested everything, and then it's a really good fit, and the ratings are what they say they are. And so yeah, it's something we take a lot of pride in.
Yeah, one thing too about soybeans, as we look into the John Latham crystal ball for 2024 and beyond, the rate of genetic gain in soybeans is very small compared to corn. So, what do you kind of see in the market going in 24 and beyond as we look into now we're getting into the mid to late 20s and even into the early 30s now talking about that. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new traits coming on. I know Corteva is going to build on E3
Hmm.
with some SCN technology, which is exciting. I know Bayer has got HT, what is it, four, five,
Or,
six, coming in the future. So, and they're going to be stacking. So you'll have a lot of different options there on the herbicide resistance. So there's some exciting things coming on the soybean side. that we'll see in the next couple of years. And I'm excited to be able to bring things, to soybeans that, some resistance to diseases instead of just bringing herbicide. Obviously, the herbicide is important, but
Mhm.
we need also, we've got some diseases that are really strong, like SCN, obviously, sudden death syndrome, white mold, phytophthora root rot, brown stem rot, that are all critical to, if you don't control them, they can really eat up your field and eat into your profits.
Right. Right. No, I agree. I think the future is definitely bright and changing for soybeans. There's no doubt about it. So one of the things you mentioned, about was yields and that stuff. So, let's look at some product highlights here for Latham across the entire portfolio. Let's start on the early side. What products did you see that were outstanding this year that you'd like to highlight for us on the early side?
Yeah, on the early side, I'm going to go all the way up to an O2, which is our customers up in Minnesota and northern North Dakota.
Hmm.
We've got a O254 Extend Flex. They plant a lot of Extend Flex up in that area. And this O254 was 103% of the trial mean in 2023. And, it handled things that going up against a lot of later products in that
Hmm.
test, and did yielded extremely well. So, if you're looking for something early, and now certainly not somebody in Iowa, but if you're looking for something early in Minnesota and North Dakota, this is an outstanding product in an Extend Flex. Then moving down in a 1.1 maturity, we've got 1121 E3, which was 108% of trial mean in 2023.
Wow.
So at 1.1 maturity is an excellent product
Hmm.
there. Then moving a little later on, we had our new 1881 E3, which is outstanding yield. It had a bushel advantage over Pioneer's 18A73E, a 60% win rate over a really popular product there. This product is a Peking variety. Any of those that have ones that I've talked about have Peking resistance.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a really nice resistance there. And it had a little better iron chlorosis than we thought too,
Mhm.
handles it well. But 1881 is an outstanding product that can go, a lot of areas. And then, well, probably my favorite product this whole year was Latham 2551 E3. Just outstanding yields. It was 103% of trial mean in 2023. It won the Iowa State yield trials across northern Iowa, won the whole test there. The showcase data, it was 3.5 bushel over Asgro's 24XF3, an 80% win rate over that
Wow.
product. And 3 bushel over Pioneer's 25A16E at a 75% win rate. So I would encourage anybody in Iowa or even into South Dakota, maybe into southern Minnesota, if you don't have this one on order, get it on order. It's just outstanding. And then on the later side, our 3384 Extend Flex is an outstanding product. It was number one in our full season R&D trials at 106% of the trial mean. So at a 3.3, if you're looking for something in central or southern Iowa, even into Nebraska, this is an outstanding Extend Flex product to look at.
Wow, those are impressive yield results, John. So, one thing, you mentioned, I heard you mention a couple of times, about performance against fuller season products. As we see the the maturity shift a little bit, and we test a lot wider range of maturities than what we used to in certain geographies. Are you kind of seeing that shift that if we bring some earlier products down, maybe that a farmer wants to get started earlier harvesting, that they're able to maintain those high yields with Latham products?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. I mean, you see sometimes a guy looking for a fuller season to maximize yield, but then also, like you say, they're bringing in some early products that are outstanding yielders. We had a lot of guys in Iowa using our 1551
Wow.
E3 at a 1.5 all the way down to Highway 20 in some areas and had outstanding yields. And so they're able to get started with something and the yields are really strong. I mean, I certainly wouldn't recommend, going that early on all your acres, but to get started, we've got some excellent products that move south extremely well and will help you get started with some excellent yields.
No, that's good advice, John. Spread your risk out. Can't say that enough in corn and soy. So there's no doubt about it. So,
Right.
well, with that, appreciate your time here, John, today and talking about Latham high performing soybeans. So, with that, Everybody take care, and we will catch you next time on Proof Points.